Hello, I've been asked to make a Nightblade healer video. This is my EU server, so I don't have as much CP, but still able to do things with her. I'm about 385 right now. Have completed AA, solo heal, VDSA a couple times, VSO, yeah, that one's A, and VAS as both back kiter and front kiter, so is still doable with lower CP. So I have a bit more health in there right now because I just used her for front kiting VAS, so there's a little bit more there. And I have the Witch Mothers on right now. I generally tend to keep a more points out of health and just put like 20 or 25 in there and use the buy-stat food. And that ends up giving me a good amount of magicka, which is nice. So we do have all the normal setups. Right now I'm just happen to be in my training gear, which isn't even really healer gear. But I'll show you that I do have access to Olo, Mending, Infallible Ether, in the Master's Resto and the Asylum Resto. And for the distros, these are the ones that I have available. So generally I will either pair IA and Mending, that's Infallible Ether, or Jorvold's Guidance and Olorime. Okay, you can see I have a lot of different set options. So generally you want to run either all divines on your healer gear or large piece infused, which is the head, chest, and legs with tri-stat glyphs if you want. I don't necessarily do that. On my healers, I usually just put max magicka glyphs on them. Okay. So, as far as the character screen, this is with the buy-stat food. So that's more health than you generally need for trials. I usually, unless they require higher hit points, like VHOF, I'd probably do closer to 20k, or VAS. For group kiting, you can do about 20, 21. Front kiting, you want to do about 24, or if you're doing +2, you want to make it up to 28, but that's a different discussion. So generally I run about 18k health on her. So you just take some points out of health and put them into magicka, which would make your magicka pool even higher. The magicka recovery, you don't really need to run recovery food because she has pretty great recovery on there. I want to keep it above 2,000, probably not higher than 23, because if I were to put back on the Witch Mothers, you can see it brings up to 26. That's a bit excessive, so I don't generally use that as much. Okay, so as far as skills go, you want to have your standard healer skills, combat prayer, so you can heal and buff the group and yourself. I like to use ward ally as my shield. You don't need that much of a shield as a healer. If you feel you do, you can put on the light armor shield. And keep on siphoning attacks. I usually have this on my back bar, actually. I just have her set up as a hybrid DPS right now to use for leveling in dungeons. Okay, so you keep on mutagen, and I usually have refreshing path back bar, and instead I will put on illustrious healing. I choose that over healing springs because I don't need the magicka back. So where I have siphoning right now is usually where you can either put your spot heal, which is healthy offering, and that means your health is drained and you get minor mending, increase your healing done, but you heal for about the same amount of breath of life would, which is about 8,000, but it drains your own health just over time slowly. It costs that much over time, so it's not really a big deal. I don't tend to use it that much, so instead I usually use the altar, and have that in the Undaunted. So I generally put that about here. Instead of your shield, you can also use Bone Surge if you want to, but you'll notice that don't have a huge amount of stam, so that's not something you generally run unless you need extra synergies for Alkosh, which you totally can do. Okay, so that's generally what my front bar looks like. I actually really like this Bolstering Darkness ulti for a lot of content. Of course, you're generally going to be running Aggressive Warhorn because that's better for the group, but if you need to use it, this gives you major protection while you're in it, and there's also a giant heal, so they can activate that synergy to get 20k health over 4 seconds. That's kind of like an Earth Gore or something. So if you really need the heal, that's the way to go in certain content. And if you need to have like damage mitigation, like Behoff Last Boss or something like that, it's actually major protection, not technically, so it just reduces your damage taken. So you can use that from time to time. Another one that you can use is the Restoration Staff Ultimate, the Light's Champion. It's the morph that I use because it also gives major force and major protection. It's for a shorter amount of time. Because I'm not wearing Olo, it's only for 5 seconds. I mean, Dorvald's, it's only for 5 seconds. Whereas the Aggressive Warhorn is for 9.5 seconds, or it would be 12 seconds with Dorvald's. So if you do need a heal, it does also still help your group a little bit with the major force and major protection if you decide to use that. This would be something you'd use like front kiting fast or in other content where the DPS just can't like stay out of the stupid or stay alive or whatnot. Okay, so I only have Impale on here right now for DPS purposes, but generally I have my bar set up with the Elemental Drain here, and then I really like putting Refreshing Path on that spot, and then you would put Siphoning Attacks here, and that's nice because it keeps your heal up and it also restores Magicka when the effect ends. So it's something good just to have. That can be one of your flex spots if you don't need it. Okay, so you'll see that I do like to keep Siphoning Attacks on just because you get ultimate after drinking a potion, and you increase your max mag and your healing done, and it generates ultimate. So that's something you like to have on, or Healthy Offering, or Funnel Health. So Funnel Health you can use. It's just not that great of a heal on a healer because you don't do that much damage. So that's something I usually avoid. Other flex spots are Dark Cloak if you find yourself where you need your own personal heal. This is very rare, but let's say you're front kiting fast. I like to throw that. So I can just hit Refreshing and Dark Cloak right as the spit's coming, and then just bust out of there and not really take any damage, any ill effects from it. And you want to keep one of those skills on because it increases your recoveries, gives you Major Resolve and Major Ward. It also increases your health and increases the duration of your ability, so that's always good. And in this skill line, there's not too much you can use. You can use Blur, which you can morph into Mirage, which gives you some nice evasion. That's more of a tank thing, but you can use it if you need to. Reaper's Mark you can use if there isn't a tank doing what they're supposed to do, puncturing. So I don't really have it's just not really needed for healer because this is all damage passives anyway, so you don't really need to use that skill line so much. Okay, we'll see if there's any other. You can keep up more of these passives. I just don't happen to have those in right now because I'm still leveling her, getting skill points and whatnot. I did use Inner Fire to taunt VDSA, Blast Boss. And you don't really need Barrier on her. I don't generally use it anyway. I think it's a skill that's not really that useful. It may give a damage shield, but if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're not going to really need that. and there's other things to heal, and Warhorn's just way more important. Okay, so she is a Breton, so I have my max magicka, spell resistance, and reduces the cost of my mag abilities. And alchemy, you're going to want to get the medicinal use up a bit higher. So my champion points aren't the best right now, but this is where I have them at for 385 CP. The green tree is really where you're going to throw in for your playstyle. That's one of the reasons why my mag recovery is so high. You'll want to get Elfborn and Blessed up to 100 eventually, and then stick in wherever else you want to. The red CP is more by trial. Right now I just have it kind of spread across the board because it doesn't really help me that much at this time. You can do them with different CP, lower CP trials, but it's a bit more difficult. So I think that's about it. Nightblade healers don't necessarily offer the best passives for the group, whereas like a Warden or a Templar would, but they're still fun to use, have some really good heals, and can complete a lot of content. So there's that. Thank you.